What's up, everybody? Slashy Joshy back with another YouTube video. Today we're doing a QB tier maker, so I'm just gonna, kind of list my quarterback rankings. I'm gonna try to keep it in order with the tiers. I may mess up in a couple spots, but um, I want to do this for every position. Obviously, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. I'm not gonna do kicker and defense, but you know. Um, but this is where you're gonna see me kind of put my own spin on things, and this is what you should do. You don't want to follow the cheat sheet, right? The cheat sheet's never 100% accurate. If you feel a guy's gonna have a good year and you trust your gut, then do it, man. That's how you win leagues. Sorry for the ads and stuff. I know there's not many up here, but this website's pretty bad with ads. If you guys have ever used TierMaker, you know. But I'll just kind of run through the list. So Anthony Richardson, I'm avoiding this year, obviously. The injury history is just terrible. I could see him in like interesting stashes if he plays, a full season. He's gonna be a great fantasy quarterback because of the rushing upside. His he just can't throw, dude. I'm not a big Anthony Richardson believer. He's not a very good passer until I see otherwise. I've seen, what I've seen is he can't make the NFL throws. So I'm having him in a void here. Aaron Rodgers, I'm not too high on for fantasy. I think the Steelers will have success this year. However, for fantasy purposes, not very high on Rodgers this year. So I'm going to put him in the C tier. He's probably a low-end quarterback 2, in my opinion. If you have a 2-quarterback league, he's probably worth that quarterback 2 spot, if you're in a pinch, but not very high on him in fantasy. However, DK Metcalf, Caleb Johnson, Pat Freiermuth, a couple other guys in Pittsburgh. They may make some noise, and I do think they're actually going to be a playoff team this year. So, but yeah, C tier for Aaron Rodgers. Baker Mayfield, you guys know if you watched any of my mock drafts, I'm very high on Baker. I'll put him in A tier. So he was a top 5 scoring fantasy quarterback last year. He only got more weapons, in my opinion. And I think the Bucks are definitely a playoff team. Baker's found a good spot in Tampa, I think, where he's kind of playing up to his potential. Has very good, chemistry with all the receivers in Tampa, it seems. So I think he's going to be a very, high passing touchdown year again for Baker. So I can see him finishing in, top 5 again. Wouldn't surprise me one bit. So yeah, Bo Nix, I'm also pretty high on. Don't know if I'd put him in A tier, but definitely high B. I think Sean Payton's got him cooking. I think Sean Payton has a good system laid out for him. They bring in Evan Ingram. R.J. Harvey out of the backfield should be a good upgrade from the run game they have last year. Plus J.K. Dobbins. Didn't forget about him. I know running back is a good good answer to quarterbacks. You can run the ball well. Everyone's going to come in, and then that opens up the pass game. So running is something that they didn't do well last year, I don't think. So I think with those 2 additions, and then Evan Ingram, obviously in the tight end spot, I think they're going to be good again, the Broncos. So Bo Nix, I have in B tier. Probably a late. I mean, he's a top 10 ranking, I think, in my fantasy. So we'll see where he is at the end. I'll kind of overview everything. This video is going to be a little longer than my mock drafts too, just because I'm going through and explaining each pick. Brock Purdy, not a very big fan of Mr. Purdy. He has a good, McCaffrey, and he lost Debo. They do have a solid offense. They have, Kittle, Juwan Jennings, Ayuk, I think is going to be coming back earlier than expected, I saw, so that's good for them. And then, obviously McCaffrey, a couple other guys, Ricky Pearsall, supposed to have a good year out of the slot. He could be. He's just kind of a game manager to me, and game managers aren't great for fantasy football. Bryce Young, I actually am going to put him a little higher than these two. I can't get that. There we go. I am going to put him in C tier still. But he's probably high C. I could see him being B. With the last few games of the year, it just seemed like everything started to click for him. Once he got benched for Dalton, came back, it seemed like Bryce Young kind of started to get the NFL. So they were all clicking. They bring in McMillan, a great addition there. Chuba Hubbard's a great running back. They're probably going to be down a lot of games, so I'm going to be expecting a very pass-heavy narrative there in Carolina. And I think Bryce Young gets the start for the full season. He showed a lot of promise towards the end of the year. I like Bryce Young in that quarterback 2 spot. Probably not quarterback 1, but put him in high C. CJ Stroud, he's going to have a bounce back year, I believe. So I am going to put him in B tier, right behind Bo Nix. He has the passing upside, obviously, but he doesn't run a ton, which does hurt fantasy numbers. But, if he can get back to that rookie season form where they were just slinging, and he was slinging all over the place. I don't know how Tank Dell's doing. I think he's probably going to miss most, if not all, of the season, I believe, just because he's broken his leg like freaking twice already. Kind of sucks. He's really good. But Nico, obviously great. They bring in Jaden Higgins, a couple other wide receiver, or a wide receiver. I think another one. I forget his name, but I do think they went pretty heavy on weapons for CJ Stroud. Mixon's going to come back. I think he's a little banged up, but he's only going to miss a couple weeks, if anything. And then, they do lose Tunsil, which is a big L for him. It's a blind side spot that they need to fill. But I do think Stroud's going to have a bounce back year, and I think he's going to put him in the B tier of fantasy. Cam Ward, I'm going to go in interesting stashes. So I'm not really high or low on Cam Ward. I'm kind of just in the middle. This quarterback class is kind of meh to me, just through and through. I don't think there's any fantasy football guys that are going to, make a difference in your team immediately. So I'm going to put them in interesting stashes. So I did make this tier just for, late round picks. If you, already have your starting guy locked in, you want to maybe take a flyer on one of these guys in the interesting stashes. We just don't know how they're going to be this year, right? It could be a good year or a bad year for them. So I'm going to put them in there. Interesting stashes. Caleb Williams. I'm going to put him in the C tier. God, do I want to put him behind? No, I'll put him in front of Purdy. Maybe in front of A-Rod, just because of the rushing upside. I do think Ben Johnson's going to do a good job with Aaron Rodgers. He's going to kind of unlock that offense. They got pretty good targets. Roma Dunze drafted Luther Burden very early. DJ Moore's back. They got Loveland, a new tight end. Beefed up that O-line in the offseason. A lot of free agency O-line additions. So I do like what the Bears are doing with the offense. Ben Johnson seems to be a very good offensive mind. So you'd think that Caleb has, some progression in his sophomore year. If not, then, that's tough. That's tough pickings. Daniel Jones of Wood, I'm not really even going to speak on it much. Dude just sucks. Interesting stashes. Drake May. I would honestly put Drake May pretty high on this list. So he's going to be an interesting stash for me. I'd probably, again, this list is for if you have a starting quarterback locked in already, you want to go get a guy that might break out this year. I do think Drake May is a breakout candidate for quarterbacks. So I'm going to put him in interesting stashes. I might be cheating a little, but I would probably put him in high C if I could. All right, so next up, Dak. So I am pretty high on Dak. I think that he has very good weapons going into the season. It's just if he can stay healthy, which I think he will. Hopefully, they bring in George Pickens, Jonathan Mingo as well, with the trade from the Panthers. He's a good receiver. So yeah, I do think Dak falls into that B tier somewhere. Can maybe put him ahead of Stroud for this. I just the weapons. Dak has probably one of the better 1-2 punches in the league. So with that alone, I mean, you got to be. Let's put him up ahead of CJ somehow. Somehow I'm putting him ahead of CJ. So yeah, I mean, CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. That's all you really need to know. I mean, this guy's got 2 elite receivers to throw to. And that's going to translate to touchdowns, which translates to fantasy points, which we love. So, Geno Smith, never been a fan, especially in fantasy, just kind of a mid quarterback. Always has been his whole career. No offense to Geno, just, what was overhyped coming out of college and never kind of lived up to it. Josh Allen, maybe the best fantasy quarterback to ever play the game. So he's S tier, number one. I don't really have to even speak much. I mean, he's finished like top three the past like 4 years of fantasy football. So you're getting a guaranteed top three quarterback in Josh Allen, probably one of the safest fantasy quarterbacks on the list. Joe Burrow, another S tier. I'll put him in S tier. The most pass heavy offense. Joe Burrow is obviously an amazing quarterback. Has probably the best wide receiver in the league in Jamar Chase. T. Higgins, very slept on. Top 15, 20 receiver, probably. Top 15, I would say. And yeah, just a great offense. Didn't they just sign a tight end? What? God damn, I can't remember. Who did they sign recently where I was like, that's interesting? Oh, Noah Fant. They bring in Noah Fant, not like a crazy addition or anything, but, juices up that tight end spot for sure. And then, Chase Brown, obviously great running back. So, love the offense in Cincinnati. Joe Burrow's a great quarterback. Jaden Daniels, as much as I want to go S, I think I'm going to go ahead and go A tier. Fantastic rookie season. Great rushing upside for fantasy, obviously. Hopefully he's only going to grow this year. Sophomore slump. I'm going to put him in A tier right ahead of Baker there. And yeah, that's my Jaden Daniels spot right there. So, hopefully they get that Terry McLaurin deal secured. If that doesn't happen, his stock's probably coming down, right? If he doesn't have Terry McLaurin to throw to in that offense, there's not many other reliable targets. I mean, they have Debo. They brought in a couple of rookies, but yeah, Zach Ertz. But hearing myself say it, I'm very worried. We need to get that Terry deal done. I'm a Commanders fan, as you guys know, but Jackson Dart, interesting stashes. I think Russell's going to start the season, but I do think if he comes in, he's very athletic. He can run. Threw a beautiful ball in preseason for a touchdown the other day. But I do like Jackson Dart. I think he may have some upside here, so I do like him as an interesting stash. Flacco, I'm going to avoid for fantasy reasons. Browns, very bland offense. Nothing exciting there. Justin Fields in fantasy, I do like this year. For the athleticism, the rushing, B or C is the question. I don't think I can put him in B, especially on that Jets offense. He's Garrett Wilson. But yeah, I think I'll probably put him right here. C tier. We saw him tear it up in fantasy on the Bears a couple years ago. He was rushing for like 100 yards a game and getting touchdowns. That's very good for a quarterback for fantasy. So the rushing upside is just very juicy. However, you don't want to overdraft him because we haven't seen the best of throwing from him. He's kind of, I don't want to compare him to Anthony Richardson. I think he has a little bit better ball than Anthony Richardson does, but he definitely has the athleticism to be great in fantasy. If he can just hit those throws, then we would be cooking. But I like him in C tier. Good quarterback too, maybe. But other than that, I would probably put him in the lower half. Jared Goff. Let's see how the Lions do without Ben Johnson. But I do, they just have a great team. The Lions have a great team overall. Amon-Ra, Jameson Williams, Sam Laporta, Gibbs, Montgomery, all kinds of good players on that offense. Jared Goff is the captain of the offense. He is kind of a game manager, but he's also there's just random games where he just slings the dude. And he gets like 4 touchdowns, 300 yards, and those will help obviously win the week for you. So I do like him at B tier, probably in the lower half. He's probably right outside my top 10 for QBs. So yeah, like a high end QB2 for Goff. But good season. See, he's gonna have another good year, I would think. Jalen Hurts. So I would probably put Hurts. The tush push is still around. I would probably put Hurts in A tier, right behind Baker. So Hurts is a good fantasy quarterback. As you know, he gets those tush push tutties. At least 10 a year. There's going to be at least 10. And you can count on that. You can bank on it. I would bet my savings that he's going to get 10 rushing touchdowns at least. I've never thought Hurts has like an amazing arm, but they seem to get it done in Philly. Great team, obviously, Super Bowl winning champions. Hurts will be putting up points on that offense. Saquon Barkley, is probably going to he may have the same year, who knows, but I would expect a little regression from Saquon just because of the monster year he had. But we'll see. We'll see. But the tush push tutties is really what catapults Hurts from a B tier quarterback to an A tier because he's going to get at least 10 rushing touchdowns a year just based off of that alone. Herbert. I don't love Herbert in fantasy, and I've had him a couple times. I'll put him in the high C, maybe low B. I may go low B here. Yeah, let's go low B. I do think Herbert's a great quarterback. For fantasy, though, he's just too boomer bust. Like the Chargers like to run. Jim Harbaugh likes to run. Or is it John? One of the Harbaugh bros, whoever's coaching LA. They like to run. They like to ground and pound. They got him Marion Hampton for a reason. They want him to be the bell cow. Lad McConkey's great. Who they drafted Trey Harris, who I actually liked out of Ole Miss. He has some pretty good measurables to be a good NFL wide receiver. So hopefully that helps. And Herbert's a great quarterback, right? But the fantasy numbers I noticed last year and when I had him the previous year, I think, were just kind of boomer bust. So he'll have a low week, a high week. And that's not great for fantasy. You want consistency, obviously, right? So B tier for Herbert, low B. Good quarterback too, but don't get him quarterback 1. JJ McCarthy, I'm gonna put as an interesting stash. I know that's kind of cheating, but he, joins that Vikings, which Sam Darnold just had a ton of success in. You would think JJ McCarthy could come in and have similar success than Darnold did. So I like JJ McCarthy. He's very young, I think 22, so probably has some more development to go to. I don't really expect him to come in and light it up this year. You never know, right? He has Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, very good team around him. So he could come in and be very successful off the bat, but that's why I'm going to put him in interesting stashes. I'm not drafting him to start on my team for sure, but I do think it's worth getting him in a later round and kind of stocking him away maybe. Jordan Love, never been high on Jordan Love. I'd probably go like here. I don't know. I'm not a big Jordan Love fan. I'd rather take the swing on one of these guys. Maybe I'd put him like here-ish. I'd rather take a swing on like one of these guys. Bryce Young, Caleb Williams, Justin Fields, just for the fantasy upside, than Jordan Love. So that's where I'm going to put him. Don't really have much to say about Jordan Love, to be honest. Kyler Murray, as far as fantasy goes, he could be, if he has a healthy year and, he slumped last year. There's no denying that. He had a really down year as far as statistics go, but I think if he has a bounce back year, he could be in this A spot, but I'm going to put him in like the highest B tier for now. Obviously the rushing upside's there. Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride, they have a good another year of chemistry under their belt, so hopefully they get some stuff ironed out there. I know some timing was off last year, but they seem to be working it out. So I like him in high B there. Kenny Pickett avoid. Lamar Jackson avoid. No, I'm just playing. Lamar. Put him behind Joey B or in front of him. I'm going to put him in front. Lamar Jackson, he's been playing at an S tier level of football for past 5 years. How was he have like 2 or 3 MVPs now? Two, I believe. Probably could have won last year, but Josh Allen got it. But either way, he's going to be in the MVP conversation every year, it seems like. Penix, not too high on Penix. I guess you could put him in interesting stashes, but I feel like that's cheating too. But I'll put him in interesting stashes, and I'll probably put here-ish. Good, Bijan, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, if they can unlock that offense, Penix could be good. I don't know, dude. I guess it's an interesting stash. That might be cheating, sorry, but whatever. Stafford. So this is a big one. He's dealing with some injuries, which I hate to see. If he is healthy, I'll put him in the low B. If he's healthy. Now, he is aging. He's like, I think 37 now. He's getting up there. So, that's typically when you see the downward spiral of quarterbacks, mid to late 30s. Um, so we'll see. He has great weapons, right? Devontae Adams, Puka, Kyron Williams at running back. So the offense is no question. It's if he can stay healthy. If he can stay healthy, I think he's going to have a great fantasy year with those weapons. And we may even see him, mid to high B tier. But until I get some more clarity on the injuries and all of that, I'm going to stock him in the low B tier. Keep an eye on those because if it's week one time and he's still battling, I might put him in a void. You don't want to burn a pick on a quarterback that's not going to play. So Mahomie, probably A tier. I think I'm going to go in front of Hurts. Could go behind. Let's go in front. Chiefs are just good, man. They got dialed in. Reed and Mahomes, they're going to be a playoff team and deep playoff team, right? Every year. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what their record is in the first 5 weeks. They always turn on. They always win, and they always are making a good playoff push. So, Mahomes A tier on that 6th spot there. I like him. Russell Wilson, I'm going to avoid this year. Not drafting him. Darnold, same thing. Don't love Darnold this year. I'll put him in like a low C. Jackson Smith and Jigba, Cooper Kupp, Kenneth Walker. I mean, the Seahawks are a team that could surprise some people. It just depends on if Sam Darnold was a Viking system quarterback or is he actually solid and can play outside of that system. So that's a question mark I have going into the season. So yeah, I guess only time will tell. I'm gonna put him in low C. I'm not drafting him super high. There's just a lot of unknowns there. Could be an interesting stash, to be honest. I could put him there, but we'll see. Whatever. Not very high in Donald. Spencer Rattler avoiding. Shador is an interesting stash. I do believe he's going to start by the end of the year. It's just a win and where kind of situation. They have him like 4th on the depth chart still, which is kind of crazy. I think he's better than Dylan Gabriel and Kenny Pickett. I just don't see how he's 4th. Maybe they just want him to sit a year, right? They want him to sit a year, watch some tape. Maybe that was a note that came up in their scouting. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. Whatever. Trevor Lawrence. I do have him in mid C. Probably. He has some good weapons. You got Travis Hunter, Brian Thomas Jr. I'll probably go right there. I like Trevor Lawrence this year. He's only 25 still, which is kind of crazy. So still has some room for growth, but I do think that he's going to start clicking and get it this year. The Jags with the new coordinator came over from the Bucks. Duval, that guy. Hopefully they get a good offensive system built around Lawrence, some good play calling, and he has a good year. Is this Bloff? Tyler Blow, I forget how you say his name. But yeah, avoid. Tua avoid. Just injured by week 3 probably. And then Will Levis. That's an obvious avoid. So here is the tier list. Josh Allen 1, Lamar 2, Joe Burrow 3, Jaden 4, Baker 5, Pat 6, Hurts 7, Murray 8, Knicks 9, Dak 10. There's your top 10. Top 10 options. Goff and Stroud fall right outside of it. Herbert, Stafford, also right outside of it. And then the rest. So I hope you guys liked this video. Give me a thumbs up if you liked the tier making videos. I'll probably post a running back one here in the next few days. But leave a like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you on the next video.